For Chapter 15 of Sociology 3392, Reading and Writing Research. So this is just going to give you some tips and tricks for when you are doing your research project. There are more instructions available in the folder, more instructions to say exactly what you need in each section of your project. So for your academic sources, you're probably going to be using journals and books. Journal articles is where the vast majority of scientific research is available. You should go through either the Texas Tech University website or Google Scholar to get access. Don't ever pay to read a journal article because we have access through the school. There is a video in the final project folder that shows you how to do that. So it can seem a little daunting when you go to read a journal article. How do you best get this information? This is what I do when I'm, looking for relevant research for my projects when I'm doing my literature review. I read the abstract first, so you'll get a summary of the research article, and it states the purpose, the methods, and the major findings, usually between 150 and 250 words. So do that first to see if it's going to be relevant to your topic. If it's not, you don't need to bother reading the rest of it. And if it is, you want to sort of skim the article, noting the section headings and tables and graphs. The most important part to read, in my opinion, is the intro and the discussion section. For the purpose of this class, I wouldn't spend too much time reading the data, methods, and results section, just because they're going to be a little bit, depending on the research article, it tends to get a little wordy. So intro and discussion are probably the two most important parts to read. And if you need to or want to, of course, read the article in its entirety. Reading a book, well, you're probably not going to have enough time in this class, only a month, to read a whole book. A monograph, which is a book-length research report, this is something you're probably not going to do. But if you choose to do this, first read the preface or introduction and make sure it's going to be relevant, and then read the book in its entirety. A lot of books will do chapters, each written by different authors in an edited volume that might focus on your research topic. The chapters themselves would be useful in this case. It's probably about as long as a journal article, but reading a full book, it's going to be a little bit different difficult for the purposes of this course. Okay, so of course we learned that not everything we find on the internet is good. Not everything that's published is good sound science. So you really want to look, especially if you're taking information off the internet, not necessarily the TTU library, you're going to really want to be cognizant on who or what is the author of the website and if they're advocating for a particular point of view. We, again, want research to be as objective as possible. So if you're coming across a website, say maybe a political website, they tend to be very biased towards a particular point of view and might, use research studies that maybe don't have the best methodology to kind of push their point across. Does the website give accurate and complete references? Is the data up to date? You don't want to use necessarily studies. There's some good older studies, but if we're looking at something like crime rates, we're not going to look at studies published in the 90s because crime has changed a lot since then. Are the data official? Meaning, are they available on government websites? Or is it just, one random person collecting the data? Not saying that's bad, but, some data has greater, weight than others. Is it a university research site? These tend to be good. Good studies are found on these university websites, not just Texas Tech, but other universities as well. And do the data seem consistent with data from other sites? So if you're finding a website on whatever topic you're choosing and the data just seems way out there compared to everything else you're finding, I would say take a stronger look or deeper look into who is the author of the website and why they're putting this data out there or these research studies out there. Okay, literature review. What is a literature review? Well, basically it's a review of the literature on your topic. So what has already been done? So you kind of want to determine some keywords. You might have keywords for your project. If you don't, that's fine. Create an outline and then group your findings by topic rather than study. So don't talk necessarily study 1 found this, that, study 2 found this, that. Instead say, well, it was found that kids who were more attached to their parents were less likely to use substances. This was found in studies 1, 2, 3, and 4, or something along those lines. There's a lot more information available on the document that's in the final paper folder. You want to conduct a search using the school library or an online search engine. Google Scholar is my favorite. And again, there is a video showing you exactly how to do that in that folder. Just some general guidelines for literature review. Use proper grammar and spelling. Understand functions of scientific reporting. This could be for your whole research project, not even necessarily just your literature review. Some basic considerations. Think about your audience. So your audience is going to be me and my TA. So you can, use some jargon if you want to, but if you're writing for a different audience, maybe practitioners, meaning people who work in the field, you're going to change up your audience a little bit. Change up your writing a little bit compared to how you would write for an academic audience. Form and length of report and aim of report. You want to, be really concrete on why you're doing this research and why it is important. Okay, so your introduction. Again, you should introduce your topic and state the problem. A good way of doing this is to present some recent statistics. So for example, if I was looking at bullying, I might say, well, recent statistics have found up to 25% of kids have experienced bullying. Review the literature again, fit your research into the context of existing scientific knowledge. So saying, okay, well, that other studies have found this, and this is what how my study is going to build onto that research that has already been done. So what is missing and how will my study fill that? Avoiding plagiarism. Again, plagiarism is presenting someone else's words or thoughts as if they were your own. This is intellectual theft. Make sure you are providing an in-text citation and a reference for everything that you use. There is a Purdue OWL website guide available, again, in the final paper folder that will tell you how to cite and reference correctly in APA 7 format. Okay, so for your data method section, include the population, the sampling frame, the sampling method. Again, you're probably going to use convenient sampling, so that's fine. Sample size, how many people you're interviewing or surveying, data collection method, completion rate, and the methods of data processing and analysis. So what test you're using, whether that be a t-test or a chi-square test if you're doing a quantitative method, or whether you're doing in-depth interviews and then your coding process, make sure you're including that in your data method section. Results, you're going to present your findings. So present both univariate and your bivariate statistics if you're doing a quantitative, and the codes and themes that you found if you're doing qualitative. Discussion and conclusion. So this is where you talk about your research and compare it to previous research. So in your results section, you're only talking about what you find. In your discussion section, you're talking about what you found compared to what other people have found. So maybe you're saying, well, my study found the same things as these other studies, but something different than this in this particular study. Give some limitations to your study. Your limitation probably for the purposes of this course is going to be a small sample size, but also maybe using a convenient sample, et cetera, and suggest what researchers should do in the future to build on your research, and give some recommendations for policy and practice. So if we say that kids, that are less monitored to a lesser extent by their parents in the after-school hours are more likely to, to smoke marijuana, maybe your recommendation would be, well, parents should really think about putting their kids in some sort of academic programs or sports programs so that they're better monitored during those hours and less likely to use substances. Okay, so some guidelines. Provide the maximum amount of data without being cluttered. For quantitative data, presenting data such that the reader can recompute them. Describe all aspects of quantitative analysis, provide details, integrate supporting material, draw explicit conclusions, and then write clearly. Okay, the final word just on the ethics. A review of the literature should not be biased towards a particular point of view. So you should not be looking for studies that, go with your preconceived notions, you want to sort of present things from both sides if there is both sides. So maybe some research, if you're very pro marijuana legalization, you're going to present those studies that find that, it doesn't increase use among adolescents. But again, you want to also present things that maybe don't fit your point of view. It's important to sort of present both sides. Again, just remember, it's always important that research ethics is a fundamental component of social science.